One. Good evening, everybody. um, yeah, welcome to Repairing Relationships. Look like I just saw some of y'all, and we're gonna invite you to be a part of our imaginary couch, and we're gonna help some relationships tonight. And this is something that was planned, and I'm glad it was. But I'm going to be talking to you from another level. We have to deal with practicality. And um, there's one thing I want you to know is that everyone in every relationship until the end of time will inevitably have challenges with their partners from time to time. And that's real. So it's common and unavoidable, but how do we know if the relationship is broken, and how do we know if the relationship is in need of repair? And that's one of the things we're going to look at tonight that I think will challenge you. I think it'll change your life, and I think you'll get some information out of this that will um help you to log off tonight and immediately begin to apply this into your life. So, uh, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I think we ought to go ahead and get started and use our time well, and I think it'll be a blessing to you. So, I guess the first thing we want to deal with here tonight is we want to talk about, you know, if our relationship is broken, then what do we need to do about it? And that's really the first question is, are there any signs of a broken relationship, or signs that a relationship might be headed towards brokenness and it is in need of repair? So let me give you 7 signs of a broken relationship that you can kind of evaluate where you are in your relationships. Number 1, a lack of communication. A lack of communication can be a sign of a broken relationship, or it can be an indication that something is about to crack. A lack of communication. And I'm not talking about a lack of talking. I'm talking about, are we effectively transferring our view from one partner to another partner, both speaking and hearing? Okay. Number 2, here's a second sign of a broken relationship. The relationship doesn't take priority for one or both partners. When the relationship does not take priority for one, or maybe even for both partners, priority always communicates value. Okay. And one of the things that we can do as Christian people, and this is why tonight's is like, it's just plain and down to earth, because I think sometimes that's necessary for you to begin to just recognize things like, is my relationship on the verge of being a broken relationship? Well, if your relationship doesn't take priority for one of you or both of you, then it's a symptom of a broken relationship, or something that's headed down to be a broken relationship. Number 3, physical or emotional withdrawal. Physical or emotional withdrawal. And if you see that in your relationship where you are withdrawing physically and emotionally, that's a sure sign of a broken relationship. Now, we're going to deal with how to repair this, because tonight is all about repairing the relationships, but I do think that we need to take a moment to determine if this thing's broken or not. Okay. Number 4, this is pretty big. A feeling of resentment towards one partner in a relationship. When there's a feeling of resentment, when we talk about resentment, it's like a bitter indignation at having been treated unfairly, a bitter indignation of having been treated unfairly. And so if there's a feeling of resentment toward one partner, where they have indignation because they feel like they have been treated unfairly, then that is a sign of a broken relationship. Number five, dishonesty and trust issues. Dishonesty and trust issues. Uh, if that is in your relationship, and trust is like the glue to relationships. I guarantee you, it's broken and it is in need of repair. Um, Number six, when you purposely distance yourself from affection and or an intimate connection. When you purposely distance yourself from affection or an intimate connection, if that's happening, wow, that's a sign of a broken relationship. And then finally, and yeah, thank God finally, so we can get into how to repair this thing. But finally, uh treating each other with disrespect. Yeah, absolutely. That is a huge sign of a broken relationship. That's that's toxic. Treating one another with disrespect, that's a broken relationship. That is a broken relationship. So if you spot any of the signs in your relationship, you might consider your relationship to be somewhat fragile. Now that doesn't mean it's broken for good. Okay, hear me clearly. It doesn't mean that it's broken for good, but it is absolutely indeed somewhat fragile, and some things that you really need to deal with to start the repair process. So let's spend our time dealing with the repair. What are some things we can do to repair uh, any relationship, really? Especially the first three things I'm going to share, and I'm going to talk about how to really apologize and what's wrong with just going and saying I apologize. I mean, so let's deal with that. Let's deal with how do we repair any relationship. And I think the first thing here is we have to have acknowledgement, saying that you got to acknowledge that something is true and that something exists. Okay. And in a broken relationship, you've got to acknowledge some of those things that we identified as signs of broken relationships. You got to acknowledge that some of those things exist. I've got to acknowledge that disrespect absolutely exists in our relationship. You've got to acknowledge that the lack of communication is there. There's got to be an acknowledgement of, yes, I purposely distance myself from affection and from an intimate relationship. Yeah, you have to acknowledge those things. And so it's important to someone to have their pain, their upsets, or their confusion acknowledged. It's very important. For example, let's just say this, you seemed really upset about my feedback, maybe in a situation. And yeah, but I realized that my words may have been painful. That's acknowledgement. Can you tell me more about what that was like for you when I responded that way? That's acknowledgement. You're acknowledging there was something wrong with your response. You acknowledge that your words were wrong. Acknowledgement is a big part of repair. And when you fail to acknowledge these certain things, uh, then that marriage doesn't have a chance to do what it needs to do. Okay. All right, let's look at something else here. This is pretty big. I want to spend a little time on this, not to waste time, but I thought this is pretty big. Tap and I, we love dealing with practical things. We don't. I don't like Christians hiding behind scriptures and not acknowledging certain things exist. And yeah, you know what I'm saying. But let's talk about apology, because we're talking about repairing relationships, and apology is a big part of repairing relationships. um uh the people in your relationships, they want apology. They want apology. I want to give you a formula that'll help you with this apology step. Uh, let's say it starts off something like this. This is what I regret. And you might regret a specific behavior. And you're apologizing by saying, this is, I regret that specific behavior. But watch this. And this is what I've learned. This is what I regret. This is what I've learned. And this is what I'm doing to make sure it doesn't happen again. I think those things have to be a part of the apology. This is what I regret. This is what I have learned. And this is what I'm doing to make sure it doesn't happen again. See, that's powerful. We're going somewhere with that. You know, uh, again, for example, you can say, like, I regret several things that I didn't, sometimes you might come in and you might want to have a conversation or even an argument, and you didn't test the waters, and the timing was all off and all that kind of stuff. Well, I regret that I didn't ask you if it was a good time to talk about this. And I didn't give you a concrete um um way out to really talk about this whole deal. But the next time, you know what, I'm going to be real clear about what I say. I'm going to check in first about whether this would be a good time or not. Again, the regret, what I've learned, and what I am doing to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So that'll make you, I think that's a formula for an effective apology. And I'm gonna tell you something, an effective apology, that's huge for healing and repair. It's very important for healing and repair to have an effective apology. Um, in order for an apology to work well, listen to this now, it needs to be behaviorally specific, and it needs to involve taking personal responsibility. Now, what I want to show you is I want to show you apologies or examples of apologies that don't get the job done. I want to show you the wrong way to, say you apologize for something. Okay. You follow me? I want to show you the wrong way for you to, apologize. So let's look at this. Let's look at about 6 different ways. Number one, when somebody says, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Somebody said, wait a minute, I said, I'm sorry. No, what you're saying is, I'm sorry. So what do we have there? We have no behavior. No behavior is named in this apology. You're saying, I'm sorry, but no behavior is named. No behavior is named. Remember the formula now. Remember the formula. This is so important. Now, what I regret as far as my specific behavior. So you're saying, I'm sorry, but there's no behavior that's named in this apology. Okay. So I'm sorry by itself with no behavior that's named, then that's not going to be good enough. All right, let's look at another wrong way to apologize. I'm sorry you were hurt. I'm sorry you were hurt. Now watch this. This apology doesn't take responsibility. It doesn't take responsibility at all. You're apologizing that you were hurt, but you don't take any responsibility for the part that you played. Remember the formula. I regret my specific behavior. This is what I have learned, and I'm doing something to make sure that it doesn't happen again. You're saying, I'm sorry that you were hurt, and there's no, this apology doesn't take any responsibility for how you behave. So that's not going to work. Never knew it was so much involved in apology, right? And yet we do it all the time because, listen, when we're ignorant of something, we just don't know. Well, that's why I thought and that it was just really going to be a good idea to talk about how to repair relationships, because sometimes God will bring you back together, but we fail because we don't know how to the practicality of how to see this thing take off, because we don't even know how to, in some cases, apologize. Number 3. Now listen to this one. I was really busy and I didn't mean to hurt you. Somebody says, well, what's wrong with that? That sounds good. See, this apology doesn't take responsibility. And then on top of that, it neglects any action to repair. You're saying, oh, I was really busy and I didn't mean to hurt you. I was really busy. I didn't mean to hurt you, but it doesn't take responsibility. And then it neglects any actions to repair. So that's not going to work either. All right, let's keep going. Um, all right, number four. I think this is like the fourth one. Um, what's your part in this? What's your part in this? Well, you can see this apology. What it does is it shifts blame to the other person. So you didn't really apologize. You're shifting blame. You're now involved in the blame game. You know, what's your part in this? You know, what about you? What's your part in this? That's not an apology. It's not an apology. Okay, here's the next one. Let's try this on. Uh, I was maybe a little. I was now listen to this. I was maybe a little unskillful. I apologize. I was maybe a little unskillful. Well, this apology, it doesn't take the issue seriously. You know, I mean, can you imagine somebody saying that to you? It doesn't take the issue seriously. And when and when a person feels like this thing's not being taken seriously, it's like it's not apology. It's not apology. All right, are we going to ever find the right way to apologize? Well, let's look at this one right here. I was under a lot of stress and I was feeling bad at the time. I apologize. What? This apology is defensive. You know, I was under a lot of stress and I was feeling real bad. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Dude, get out of here. No, this apology is defensive. And so there's not going to be the repair that you're looking for when you are, operating defensively. It's just not going to work. It's just something that you're not going to see repair in your marriage. So hopefully what this does is this shows you how vital it is that yes, apology is necessary in repairing relationships, but we got to learn how to apologize. And then you'll kind of like learn how to decipher some of those weird looks you're getting when you're apologizing and defensiveness and all the other ones that we just went through. So that's one of the things you use to repair your marriage or any relationship. All right, let's look at another one. Uh, learning, learning, and this is, I know I've kind of said this, but as you're repairing a relationship, they may want to know what you have learned. Okay, what have you learned? I mean, this relationship is broken. I need to know, what have you learned? And I'm gonna tell you, some people can be very generous when they understand that their hurt contributed somehow to your growth and your learning. So they're a little bit more apt to kind of go there with you in repairing because wow, you have learned something. And even though I was hurt from the situation, I'm feeling encouraged because at least you are learning and you are growing away from your old self. For example, I learned more about what kind of feedback works for you. Okay. I will in the future, for example, ask if it's a good time to talk versus coming in and just starting an argument. Okay. And so this is so very important. Learning is a part of repairing the relationships. What can you learn from the brokenness that relationship went through? And it's important to give voice to what I've learned. And it may be I've learned that I was a lot more selfish than I thought it was, or what did you learn? All right. At the expense of somebody else's hurt, what did you learn? What did you learn? And then, of course, the repair part, when a relationship has been ruptured, when it's been broken, an invitation to repair, um, it becomes important and it becomes something that's welcomed. when somebody's interested in repairing the relationship. It's pretty awesome. Um, so these are just some, I think, some practical things at the very beginning. I want to get into a more what I say, practical, even more practicality in repairing things like this. And some of you say, well, I don't need that, I ain't divorced. Well, yet, I mean, if you don't deal with the brokenness, you'll be facing some weird stuff. I'm just thrilled when I have an opportunity to share from a level of practicality that can really help people to, dissect some of the things that might be going on in their relationships. For any resolution or progress to be made, listen to this, it is essential that both parties be invested in the relationship. Both of you have to be invested in the relationship. And it also goes back to how you prioritize the relationship and the type of value that's added to that relationship. It is absolutely vital. So let's keep going. A part of the repair would be, I know you've heard this before, but start dating again. Start dating again. It's easier for couples to become disconnected from one another when they don't spend quality time together anymore. And you got to make it a point. You got to do this intentionally. You got to make it a point to date your partner at least once a week. At least once a week. It can be as simple as what, sitting in a car and listening to some oldie goodie movies, at least once a week. And yeah, it's something that if you make the point to do it, it'll really resolve some things. I mean, last week Taff and I went to see a play about Michael Jackson's life, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna probably sleep through the thing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was amazing. And so the goal isn't necessarily to spend money, but the goal is to spend quality time together, even if it's just a couple of hours a week. That's so very important. So it'd be really, really helpful to agree on a specific time every week and put it on both of your calendars so that you can carry it out. And it may be some things you can do at home. Have movie night at home, get you some popcorn, agree on something you want to look at, but you gotta figure out how to do something. The key here, the objective here is the quality time that we spend with one another. Okay, got that? Let's move on. I've said this once, I probably said it twice so far, and I thought a third time is going to be, winner. But you got to make your relationship a priority. Now, here's why I say that. When a couple's been together for a while, sometimes the honeymoon phase it wears off, and the relationship becomes more of a transaction like of a relationship. I mean, it's easy to fall into business like exchanges, like you got to deal with the bills and the chores and the home repairs and the child care, and that can take quite a toll on a relationship, you see. And when this happens, the relationship can take a back seat to the day-to-day task and responsibilities that you have. But the thing that we do to combat it and to really look at this, we got to check in with one another. And what's real cool is we check in with one another at unscheduled times. Sometimes in the thick of my day, I'll pause and call, how you doing, how's your day going, just praying for you. That's pretty romantic. If something new or exciting happens, you can share the news with your partner first, right? And you don't just call to nag about picking up the kids and you need to do that and you need to go by the store and get me some hot dogs because I'm hungry. These little small ways can make the relationship a priority. And like I said, when you can show the other partner that you value that relationship and you value it by making it a priority, then yeah, a lot of things can happen. A priority you can still handle the little weird things in day-to-day life, but it's something about making it a priority. So make that in big caps on your notes about how important that is. Um, Now, this is an interesting one right here. I want you to just kind of think this through with me for a moment. Um, Let go of expectations. Now, write that down. Let's just think through this. Let go of expectations. Many people in relationships have expectations about what their partner, listen to this, should be doing. Expectations about what your partner should be doing, whether it's about the chores around the house, exercise, work, communication. But unfortunately, your partner isn't a mind reader. Think of that now. So if you have a need or if you have a request, asking them for help is critical. Okay. You're expecting something that I don't, in some cases, don't think you have a right to expect. See, while you may think that they should take the trash out, for example, without you asking, you ought to take the trash. I'll not have to ask you to take the trash out. Why you get that from? It's important to learn how to communicate in a relationship uh, that's not meeting your expectations. If your expectations are not being met, you got to ask yourself, have I been effective in communicating that? For example, you might say, well, trash day is on Thursday. Would you mind setting a reminder on your phone to take out the trash weekly? That will be a great help to me, and I would certainly appreciate it. And so, learning how to fix a broken relationship can be challenging, but letting go of expectations can be a great first step in uh, curtailing those negative emotions that you might be feeling because you're expecting for something. Well, you ought to want to do it. Well, you should want to. I shouldn't have to ask. Well, you got to you got to really examine that kind of thing, and uh, rather than having those expectations and just looking for it to become an argument, what you're doing is, I'm gonna communicate and you know ask yourself, do I really have a right to expect this? So amen. All right. How about this? Planning a weekly meeting. I hope these things are very practical to you. Planning a weekly meeting. Setting up a weekly meeting for you and your partner so y'all can go over the responsibilities. You can go over the appointments, you can go over the chores for the upcoming week. Uh, I mean, that's very important. I planned a meeting with my wife. I had some trees I want to get pruned, but the equipment's going to be in the driveway, and we really sat down and looked at that. Well, I'm not going to be able to get to the house for driveway if all this equipment is going to be there overnight, and yada 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 yada. Every household has to deal with the monotonous duties of running a house. And so the chores, the repairs, the cleaning, the finances, the children, all that stuff adds up. And there's got to be a time where you can plan what's going to happen this week. You know, we need to talk about who's going to take the kids to school, who's going to pick them up. Certainly don't want to have any confusion about that. But that's just something you plan to do that becomes something that you learn how to mend those broken relationships that'll be very challenging by having just a simple weekly meeting to discuss those kind of things. Cool. Yeah. All right. Now here's one I really like. Here's one I really this is really good. Okay. Say thank you. Say thank you. Okay. While it might feel a little weird initially, try to say thank you, even for the little things. Hey, Taffy, can you bring me some water on the way back from the kitchen? Yeah, she brings me some water. Thank you. Not, well, you're supposed to. You don't want to do that. We can all be found guilty of taking a partner for granted after being with that partner for a minute, for a while. but thanking them for big and small things, it's an excellent way to show your appreciation. And that appreciation shown will go a long way, especially if they've done something big, like they leave work early so they can take the dog to the vet or feed the dog. It can go a long way to saying something like, I know how busy you were at work, so I really appreciate you rearranging your schedule to kind of help me out. That's big time. Big, big, big. So learn how to say it. Just pause and learn how to say thank you. I mean, I am just so grateful. I mean, the other day I was busy in writing up some stuff, and I said, I got to go and get my lunch before it gets cold. She says, oh, I'll get it. I said, thank you. Just get used to doing that. Okay. Well, we've been married for 40 something years. I ought not have to say thank you. Dude, stop, stop, stop. You too old to be getting a divorce right now. Stop. Somebody need to take care of your honorary self. Stop it. you know, Knowing how to heal a broken relationship might feel impossible, but appreciating your partner is an effective way to turn the corner. It's very effective. I mean, it'll go a long way, and by just doing that. Okay. All right. Take a deep breath. I'm almost there. Take a deep breath. I figured, man, we get into this thing and be very practical with it. And like I promised you this morning, I wasn't gonna be just rumbling around and just pontificating. That we were gonna hit it and give you exactly what you needed to have. And yeah, because I appreciate you taking the time to be with me tonight. And I don't want to keep you all night on a Friday night. Okay. Now, how about try to hold hands and hug more? I used to do something in marriage counseling where I used to call it hug therapy. And one of the things I would do is I would send the couples home and I would tell them, I want you to hug one another this many times a day for, 2 minutes. And some of them thought it was ridiculous. And when they returned back, they talked about this nonverbal communication that was taking place. They talked about this assurance that was taking place. They felt love, they felt security. Um, this suggestion may seem challenging, especially if your relationship is stressed. Nobody don't want to be hugging somebody and you're already mad at them. I understand that, but listen to me. Affection may not happen immediately, but be hopeful. With more quality time together, you might regain the confidence in the relationship and the passion for one another, and the nonverbal things that happen with touch, the nonverbal things that happen with hugs. I mean, and this works with the kids. This works with everybody. I try to hug and kiss all my kids. I think it's important, and especially if you have sons, it's important. It's important not just in your relationships, but I think in a lot of your intimate relationships at home. It's a big deal. Now let's look at this. This would probably be Taffy's favorite. In fact, I know it. Ditch the routine and have fun together. Yeah, ditch the routine. I'm like a planner, and so I love routine and I love planning. Taffy, on the other hand, she knows how to ditch the routine and have some fun. It's easy. It's so easy to get stuck in a routine when you've been in a relationship for a while, and you gotta break that up. I remember when we really broke the routine. We picked the middle of the week and we decided to go canyon sightseeing. And we went into these different canyons. And I'm thinking, like, at first, I'm like, a canyon? I don't want to go in a canyon. I'm from College Park. Why would I want to go in a canyon? And some of the most amazing sights that I was able to see, and the Grand Canyon was a part of that. Routine, I'm not saying it's not good, but routine is it's good, but it's probably time to change things up if you find that you're starting to neglect one another and you're doing it unintentionally. So, uh, little things. Do you sit next to each other on the couch every night after dinner watching TV until someone falls asleep? Dude, that's easy to do, right? You might want to ditch that routine. Instead, consider turning off the TV a few nights a week, play a fun game, take a walk, listen to some music together. I remember when Taffy and I started seeing the freshness of just taking a walk. And we'd walk for a couple of miles and have good conversation while we're walking. Interacting during a game or a walk, it offers much, much more quality time than watching television. And so ditch the routine and figure out how to have some fun. Ditch the routine, figure out how to have some fun. I mean, my wife's at an amazing women's conference right now, and I thought she'd be like, "Would you do that for me and on my back?" Yeah, no problem. I mean, what you done? You do so much for me all the time. Praise God. And so, believe me, some of the stuff you're hearing, I take good notes. Make sure you say this. I take good notes. Now, let's say, all right, I'm gonna do everything that I learned here tonight. And what if I do all of that and I'm not seeing results? Well, I would suggest, and I know you're gonna freak out, but I think that one of the healthiest things you can do is see a therapist. Now, not all therapists are created equal, but for some Christians, oh my God, I said something sinful. See a therapist? Oh, absolutely not. Let me tell you something. Taff and I made a decision for a while that why wait until something's so broke it can't be repaired to go get help? We decided to make that a part of our health, to sit down and with a marriage counselor and a therapist and evaluate our marriage and let's see what we can do to make this better, or let's see how we can work this out, because you don't want to get involved in the fear dance and you hurt this person and then they get hurt and then they turn around and hurt you and then you're just doing this thing all over and over again. I don't think it's something to be ashamed of. In some countries they think it's just a shameful act to go and to see a therapist or to seek help for emotional problems or challenges. But you know as a counselor, sometimes couples come to me and I'm thinking, I can't do anything. This thing is so broke. And why'd y'all wait till it got this bad to come see me? Where it's like, I don't even know. I don't know what to do. We all gonna have to pray and believe God to help this. But why wait until it get that broken before you seek help? Uh, make it a part of your health journey. Make it a part of your health journey. That you have such value for your marriage that you would make it a part. Let's go see a counselor. Well, what's wrong? Ain't nothing got to be necessarily wrong. Ain't nothing got to be necessarily wrong. Let's just, as a part of our health, let's go and talk about some things. Let's get another opinion, another perspective on how we're doing things. And I think that is for the health of your marriage. I think it can be treated like a supplement that you take to try to add a little bit more health to your physical body. Well, so likewise, it can be true that you can add that type of a thing where your relationships are concerned as well. Preventive medicine is something that I really believe in, and I think that preventive medicine can work well in relationships as well. Don't sit back for years and fester, uh, and just let the thing just sit there and make it worse and worse. Learn how to take advantage uh, of those situations. So, hey guys, there you have it. Um, as I promised, I was going to not just rattle around and just talk, but we were going to hit it. And I think that this will help you if you will apply it. If nothing else, hopefully it got you to just thinking about some things and um, uh, be very hopeful that your relationship can indeed be something that can be repaired. Now, Taff and I have been working on a part two of our teaching on how to fight fair. And one of the things that we worked on in this is to um, to evaluate your relationship to make sure that you're not competing with one another. We were shocked of the number of couples that were on the brink of divorce simply because they were not aware of the competition that had festered in their marriage relationship. That we just got to be for one another and not competing with one another. And so that's going to probably be our next time that we get together. But we invest in you. We love you. We thank God for you. And we just believe that the best is yet to come in your life. It's Friday night, guys. Have an amazing evening. Enjoy your weekend. And I look forward to seeing you on Sundays from the pulpit. And also next week as we come together with our time of confession. You guys are amazing. God bless you. See, that wasn't that bad, right? I'm not as good as just running my mouth and, where you? No, we're done. And so thank you so much for being with us. And we'll see you real soon. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.